evolutionary arms race is a term often used to describe two different species which are in constant battle with each other to develop smarter ways of outwitting their counterparts and ultimately increasing their chances of survival. Basically, keep evolving or go extinct forever. Bats and moths have been in this race for more than 60 million years. So, just as bats must conjure up new ways to be able to locate, pursue, and capture their dinner, moths must create new ways of escaping from being that dinner. Moths and bats roam around in the dark, and therefore visual displays such as eye spots or conspicuous coloring to signify toxicity are pretty inadequate. Cue the entrance of moth tails. Moth tails are long, elongated regions of the hindwings. They are found in the satanids, the larger moths, and can reach lengths of more than 100 millimeters. That's a whopping 10 centimeters long. Moth tails are hypothesized to work just like visual eye spots, but at an auditory level. They have evolved to deter bats away from the moth's body and its vital organs to a region which can be more readily sacrificed. But what is the evidence for this? A recent study by Barber and his colleagues looked at the beautiful lunar moth, which has an average tail length of 35 millimeters. Half of their subjects' tails were intact, while the other half had their tails completely removed. The lunar moths were placed in a room with big brown scary bats and observed. There were two major findings made from this study. Firstly, moths with tails intact were able to outsmart the bats and had a 47% survival advantage. And bats were actually attacking the tails 55% of the time. Researchers suggested that bat sonar may be leading bats to perceive the moth tails as either a more visible or completely different and easier to capture target. That's all fine and dandy, but why is more research into this field necessary? Well, this is the only study of its kind. No one else has looked at moth tails or that of any other taxa in this manner. I propose to use the moth Copioptrix semiramis, CS for short, a huge moth on the extreme end of the tailend spectrum with a 100 millimeter tail. For my study subjects, I would gather 210 individuals of CS moths. A third of these moths would have their tails still intact, roughly 100 millimeters in length. A third would have their tails cut to 50 millimeters in length to simulate damaged tails, and the remaining thirds would have their tails completely removed, 0 millimeters in length. Finally, I would pit a moth from one treatment and a collected big brown bat against each other in a room with high-speed infrared cameras and condenser microphones mounted to the walls. By going over the videography recordings, I would examine three things: what region the bats are attacking, are the bats successful at capture, and what strategy is the bat using. So, what do I expect to happen? After data analysis of the results, I expect findings to be pretty consistent with Barber and his colleagues' study. That is, a positive relationship to exist between tail length and survival advantage. However, I do expect a greater quantitative survival advantage than 47%, simply because Copius semiramis moths have more conspicuous tails than Actius luna. Irrelevant of whether support for this hypothesis or not is achieved, I believe that this research can open up a new and exciting field of evolutionary biology and animal behavior, whilst also educating the local and global community about the non-essential, but really pretty essential appendages that some moths have. I would like to take this opportunity to stress that we must continue to study the multiple arms races that exist before us to better understand the world around us. Thank you for listening.